All right, what is up, everybody? Welcome for the first time. We're back to another DLJ Works video, and I have another Vimeo OTT tutorial for you where I'm going to show you how to add animations to any part of the text that is on your theme. And actually, this idea came from a request in my inbox, and I just thought I'll just make a video about it just so I can show everybody what to do. And I'm actually going to show you how to get ChatGPT involved in this so you can find and search for code as easily as possible. Now, the first thing that we're actually going to do here, I'm in my CSS style editor. All right, you're going to only be able to use CSS. In the email request that I got, they were showing that there were some JavaScript additions, but you can't affect, or not to my knowledge, ever since I've been using this, you can't make any adjustments to the JavaScript. They only give you this little text editor that's here, this little text box where you can adjust CSS styles. Unfortunately, you can actually do CSS animations to any element that is on the page because you can manipulate the HTML in that way. So that's what we're going to look at. Now, over here, what all I've done is we want to first target. If you looked at my previous videos, you will see that you would more than likely have to go to the developer tools. All right. More than likely have to go to developer tools. And when you click this arrow box that's over here, this arrow that points to a dotted line square, what that's going to do is it's going to allow you to highlight elements, select elements that is on the screen. So when I do that, I click on this, and then what it's going to do is going to take me directly to the HTML. It's going to show me the class names or any identification, any IDs that's attached to the HTML element. Now, let me move this up some. The main thing, though, is when we click on this or we click on any element, it's also going to directly take you to the CSS element as well, the styling that's being done with the CSS. And I've already copied this and made adjustments to it over here, and I added it so we can go ahead and add our animations. So when this was originally done, all it had was a text shadow with the property and the values listed for the text shadow for this HTML, this CSS element, and all I did was add the animation. Now, how did I get the animation? I could have easily done a Google search, how to add animations to your CSS. All right, some of this stuff I don't know off the top of my head, and I do have to refer back to a previous resource, but I use ChatGPT as a search tool this time around. All right, so you can look at it as like, you're not a real web developer, you cheated. Screw that. We're using tools nowadays to get the information as fast as possible. So that's all that I did. So I wrote a prompt, write CSS code that animates text to fade in and out, and it gave me something very simple. For this tutorial, this is to actually just show you, you have to know when you're, okay, here's the thing with ChatGPT, because there is some caveats to it, in my opinion. You have to know what to actually ask, which means that your prior knowledge of coding, all right, will help out in terms of how you ask and reference a prompt for ChatGPT to output that information. So, but you don't need to be a coding expert to be able to ask it, write some CSS code that animates text to fade in and out. You don't need to be a genius on that. But what you do need to have prior knowledge on is okay, now that ChatGPT has given me this information, how do I apply this? Do I just copy all of this and just put it into that coding style box right there? And in this case, that's not going to work. This is where a web developer's knowledge of using CSS would come into play, because now I know that I don't need to copy the class name here because I'm going to attach it to an element that already has a class name. And in this case, overview, which then affects the child element. I'm not going to use a lot of technical CSS language here, but this is the class name right here. That's all that you need to know. So that's why I had you go to the developer tools and select on the screen what element you're trying to actually animate. All right. There's no animations going on here, and I'll explain that to you in a second. But that's what we did. So I know that I don't need to copy this class name. I need to copy this. This is what I need to copy, and then I need to copy this and place it under here. And let me explain this code part right here so you actually know what to do if you're going to actually copy and paste some of this stuff into the style text box to affect your editor without having to hire a third-party web developer to do this for you. this keyframe right here, this how should I say, this property, all right, this element that's targeting the HTML. This right here is actually, you're creating a variable. And right here, the variable that we're creating, and this is a name. We can make up any name that we want to. In this case, ChatGPT made a name, so you know that this function, that's what you're creating, is this function is going to be fade in and out. You could have named it something else, but ChatGPT named it, so it'll be easy for you to identify. So this is fade in and out. These are the actually keyframes. So from 0, when it's at 0% frames, when it's at 0 to the very end. So if it's 30 frames per second, so from 0% to the 100% at the very end of the frame, the opacity is going to be 0, which means that it's not going to be visible. And then when it gets about to the 50% marker midway through, so 15 frames per second, if it's 30 frames per second, when you get to the 50% marker, the opacity is going to be 1, so it's going to be completely visible. All right. So from 0 to 50, we're going to have this fade effect that's going to happen. And then as it goes from 50% to 100%, it's going to begin to fade back out. So that's the best way that I can actually explain this. And then this is the timing. This is the number of seconds that is actually how quickly it appears on the screen. All right. And then the ease in, ease out is also going to affect the transition of the animation. And the infinite side that's right here, where it says this means that, is it going to keep looping over and over again? Is the animation going to repeat itself? That's why this is. And if you notice, the animation is not doing anything because I actually deleted the word infinite, so it won't loop. But if I simply refresh the page, all right, hopefully, let me see here. I better copy this because I don't know if it's going to delete my Control C, delete my animation. So I'm going to just refresh the page. All right. Now, yep, it didn't delete it. So you see that my animation fades in upon landing on it. It's only going to happen once, and then it's going to phase out because of that transition out. And then it's going to settle to just stop playing altogether. All right. So when your customers land on here and they immediately see that this is actually fading in and out like this, it's going to stop at some point. Now, if I go back over here to my text box, can I move this? Nope, can't move that over. If I go back over here to my text box, now I'm going to add the infinite here. All right, I'm going to add the infinite here, and I'm going to click off because I just made changes to my CSS. So this whole fade in effect should be fading in and out infinitely at 10 seconds. So that's how long it's going to take the animation, all right, to go ahead and fade in and out at 10. Well, this is 10 seconds. So I want to guess this is about standard 30 frames per second. I can actually make this go a little bit faster by changing this from 10 seconds to 2 seconds. Let's click off. All right. So you're going to create, so when you shorten the duration of time down, that's going to make the animation then just flash like this within the parameters of how it's going from 0 to 50%, the opacity is going in, and then how it's going to fade out. So from 0 to 50 is fading in to be visible, and then from 50 to 100%, it's going to fade back out to being invisible. So you can create whatever sort of animation that you want to. You can probably just go to ChatGPT, or you can just simply go to Google. Here I have another web page, another tutorial up here that I will leave in the description box for you if you just want to get a better understanding, because they tell you here what the syntax actually is. All right, what the syntax actually is, some of the timing functions that you actually need to write into your CSS. And then it actually breaks down. You can actually, because there's certain ways, there's certain conventions that you can actually write the CSS code when it comes to the properties and values, because what's on the inside here is going to be called, like, with, okay, what's the simplest way I can actually explain this? You see where it says display, this is known as the property. And then each and every certain properties have a specific value you have to write into that property in order to make it work properly. You just can't write anything that you want to. There's some things that's already set, already applied to. Think of it as like the alphabet, as the English language. There are certain like ways that you will write a sentence. You know, you have a subject, you have a verb, you have a predicate, you have punctuation at the end here. All right. and there are certain ways that you have to actually like put that in. Here, same thing where you're writing probably any type of code, whether it's styling, markup, which is HTML, whether it's actually programming like JavaScript. There are certain things that's expected to be here that's already programmed in for you to program, if that makes sense. So the property name where we have here where it says animation name, all right, you can create any name that you want to. Where you see the kind of the camel effect, where you have the lowercase and then like the letter F will be capitalized. It's called camel casing. And coding, it's a naming convention. So and it helps to easily identify how you're naming certain functions and certain variables within your programming language. Here we have the animation duration, which is 2 seconds. But if you go back, you see that it's not broken down like that. You can actually, when you're creating animation, if you do it in a certain order, it'll be name. Let me go back. It'll be name. Then it'll be the seconds, the duration. All right. Then it'll be the timing function. Okay. Or you could actually probably put the timing function or the count one before the other. But I do know the name and the time and duration has to come first. All right. So iteration count is going to be infinite. And I have to see what the other values are that you can actually write if you're trying to control it. And then the other one, the timing function, here we chose to have it ease in and ease out. So that also affects the animation in the way that you see it going right now here in this one. So anywhere on this page, and I've been doing tutorials, so forgive the multicolored look, but anywhere on this page here, you can affect any headline, any sort of text that you want. If you wanted to animate, you wanted to time a certain way, you can have that done. And if you don't want to do any of this, if everything I explained to you was still a little bit complicated, there's multiple ways that you can reach out to me. If you look in the description below, I do have a link to where you could book some time with me. All right, you could book some time with me, and I will actually do this for you. We could take an hour of time. We could take 2 hours, however much you want to pay for, and I will sit here on Zoom, and I will actually try to animate this for you and teach this to you one-to-one. So that's also another option if you don't want to do this yourself and, just follow this video in terms of what I'm talking about. All right, I would really love to hear your thoughts, any questions. If anything is still confusing, please leave a question below. And like I said, if you don't want to do this yourself, you can always reach out to me and pay for that time. Otherwise, just use this video to help you out and try to DIY, try to self-teach yourself this and use the strategies that I have from the other videos that you see from my Vimeo OTT catalog. Thank you again for watching, and I will see y'all in the next video. God bless you.